Welcome back to HeartPostured, where we speak about all things matters of the heart and how it can impact everything in our lives. That begins with like our story and who we are and how we grew up, and all of the things we've been through kind of entangles itself in that. And how you react to things in life and etc. So this is now episode 8 of HeartPostured, and this is just gonna be just me continuing on my testimony. So this is the second part of my testimony, which is the after I started walking with Christ up to now. So last time I left off, if I can remember, basically everything was fairly new, and going from the things that I was doing to now trying to view things differently. And now that the scales are off of my eyes, quite literally, of the human race, of who I am, what am I doing with myself, and why do things happen? Like what foundation do I have? Like what am I building this life on? Like what's the point of this floating rock, right? And me in it, and all these other humans around me in it as well, So it was a very drastic kind of like a shock in my body type of thing, because it's like, okay, so the things that I was doing, it was only making me feel worse, not better. So there's that. So this story here in Acts is about how Saul lost his vision, like his sight, like literally. But spiritually for me, this is what I felt happen as soon as God touched me, like as soon as I felt him in my heart and in my mind saying like, yes, like I am who I am, like I am the Alpha, I am the Omega, I am beyond all of this, and you can trust me now, and let's talk, let's walk this out, and I've been waiting for you, basically. So it says in Acts chapter 9 verse 18, and immediately something like fish scales fell from his eyes, and he regained his sight, and he got up and was baptized, and he took food and was strengthened. So that's like exactly how I felt. And then there's other scriptures like 2 Corinthians. In their case, the God of this world has blinded the minds of the unbelievers to keep them from seeing the light of the gospel of the glory of Christ, who is the image of God. And in Isaiah 35:5, then the eyes of the blind shall be open and the ears of the deaf unstopped. Yeah, it's like so many scriptures that literally woke me up. But in the process of this, like I just didn't know how to go about things. Like everything was like so new, and like the whole thing with religion, like things can really kind of like just mash up weird, and then you don't know how to walk through it in the beginning. At least for me, I didn't know how to walk through it, because there's like so much already out there regarding religion and all the other religions and all the denominations. So it's a lot, and even now, like there's things that clearly I don't know. I don't know everything here. It says in the word we're not going to know everything until until the day that comes when Jesus comes back. So we just have to accept that, and with good reason, because like I said in my past episode, that if you knew everything, you're not going to be able to handle everything. Like our brains weren't prepared for that for a reason. what I'm trying to say is, when I started walking with God, like seriously for real, and I literally said, like, I surrender, like I gave my life to you, like, just, I'm here now, show me the way, show me how to walk, show me what I need to do, show me how I gotta talk, show me how I need to, react. And then I started reading like scripture, like, love is patient, love is kind, love is this, love is not self-seeking, like, it's just so many things that when I read it, I'm like, oh yeah, like, this is not a human being writing this per se, because we are arrogant humans. We want what we want our way. And yeah, like, being selfless is not something that comes natural. So a lot of the word that I was reading in here was humbling me in such a way. And that alone is just confirmation that this wasn't fully made by man, because man is not as humble as they seem to be. I started getting the word more and more and more. And it's funny though, because when I was reading, I remember there was like a part of the Bible, like, there's a lot that, like, it's hard to understand, because there's so many stories that you're just like, what does this mean? What, like, this has nothing to do with what's going on right now. But when you read it, you kind of understand bits and pieces of, like, what it is that you need to, like, take from it. And there's just like so much that comes with reading your Bible alone, that it gets so twisted sometimes. Like, for example, like I was trying to say, that was a story that I was reading in the Bible about, I think that it was like about slaves or something, like the servant. I can't remember where. Maybe it was like in Samuel or something, but it was supposedly saying like, oh, you're not, God is telling them like, oh, like don't treat them well or something like that. But in reality, when you keep reading, you get the full context of things. So when I first was reading it, I asked my friend, like, what kind of God is telling people to do this and hurt people and like have these slaves or something and not pay them or whatever the case may be. But it was just like, when you keep reading, I think it was saying how he was saying like, oh, this is just to trick the people, so the slaves wouldn't get hurt, like in the process of it. That's what it was kind of trying to say. But I was like, oh, okay. So I feel like that's what a lot of people do. That when they read the Bible, they take bits and pieces, or they take what they read and they run with it, and they say like, oh, what kind of God is that? Oh, your Bible is contradicting itself, etc. So all of those things kind of make you want to shy away from it, and like from the beginning, especially me, like first starting to read my Bible, getting all this information, I was just like iffy, like, is this real? Is this not real? But the more I was reading it, the more I understood the stories. That's why it says like, don't just go to church and let them feed you the Bible. Don't just go to church and let them feed you what they want to share, from the Bible itself. But no, like, you need to get in here yourself. I know it's not easy, especially for people that don't read, but like, it's important. I'm saying this to myself, like, when I don't read this Bible, I am not the same person. I don't act as the best woman I can be. But when I do read it, it really humbles me and it wakes me up from my slumber, and it continues to remove the scales of my eyes over and over and over again, because it's easy to just let go and not be good, and that's very, very important. So that's what I was doing. I was getting into the word, and did I understand everything? No. And I'm also learning now that each season, like, for example, like I would read something something that I read maybe like 3 years ago, and I read it right now, I get more revelation and more understanding when I read it now, because it's just different seasons that you pick up little things. So it's just so crazy. Like, it's kind of hard to explain, like, how spiritual reading your Bible is, because we just live on this earth day to day. We don't really go in deeper of life, like, I don't know how to explain this very well, but it's deep. But yeah, and there was like, I started to have moments where I would read my Bible, and it would just speak to me with whatever I was handling or dealing with at that time. And it's just so funny because going back to the stuff that I was doing, like tarot reading and things like that, like, some people could probably even try to say like, oh, the same way that you get revelation or word from your Bible is the same way you got when you was reading your tarot cards, right? Or your angel cards. But me coming from that's definitely not what that was, because when I was doing these angel cards and stuff like that, they were just giving me information to just to continue to be kind of like arrogant, I guess, and like how to make a way for myself, like how to twist things for myself to like I don't know how to fully explain it, but it also goes back to like the tarot cards and the angel cards and all of those things in New Age. They do have half truth in them, which is the crazy part, because that's like, it's hard to kind of see where the wrong parts of it lies. And I'm not one to really sit here and fully explain these things, because I really still don't know fully how I was into all of those things. But yeah, and because when you walk with things of New Age, they give you 3 things, right? They give you 2 truth and 1 lie. And that's what the enemy does to us. That's what he did to Jesus when he told him like, he says here, if you are the Son of God, throw yourself down, for it is written, he will command his angels concerning you, and on their hands they will bear you up, lest you strike your foot against a stone. And then he literally uses scripture directly from the Bible himself, from Psalm 91. But he misuses it to encourage a foolish and prideful act that would just test God. But then Jesus replied, you shall not put the Lord your God to the test. Deuteronomy 6:16. So that's what New Age gives. Like, it tells you like little things that sound correct, and they have half truth because of it, but it's being misused, basically. And I feel like when I was doing tarot cards and angel cards and things like that, my mind was all about still me, and like basically like giving myself so much pride. Like, even the fact that I thought that I was helping people, like, oh my God, like I'm helping people, and like making myself look good, basically, of it. But the Bible tells us the opposite. Literally, it tells us to humble yourselves. And in Luke 6:29, it says, whoever hits you on the cheek, offer him the other also. And whoever takes away your cloak, do not withhold your tunic from him either. Give to everyone who asks of you, and whoever takes away what is yours, do not demand it back. Treat people the same way you want them to treat you. And if you love those who love you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners love those who love them. And if And if you do good to those who do good to you, what credit is that to you? For even sinners do the same. So it's like the complete opposite. Slightly, like it tells you a little bit, but like this goes like deeper, you know. And then it'll like back to like also like getting revenge is like the God said like don't take revenge, you know, like the revenge is mine, like I'll take care of it. You don't have to hurt anybody for that, you know. But our minds and our hardened hearts, it doesn't want to do that, you know. Like we don't want to do what this says. So this is telling me that what this says is truth, because it makes moral sense compared to what New Age is giving me, to a certain extent. But there really is a thin line between that. At least from what I noticed, there is like a thin line between finding truth in New Age and finding truth in God, in Jesus. And even then, in New Age, Jesus was supposedly one of the people that like he was just like up there with everybody else. But you know, that's the way that the enemy kind of like sneaked that in there. Like, yeah, Jesus is in there with them, with all of the masters. But in reality, Jesus is above them because he gave his life for all of us. So it's just like little things like that I was learning and unlearning, and I was just like in awe because it just makes so much sense. Because the deeper that I was getting into spirituality in New Age, I was just getting deeper into this rabbit hole that was just going in circles and circles and circles, and I wasn't getting anywhere. And I'm sure someone else that's in New Age right now most likely feels the same way, because that's what it is a rabbit hole. And I stand on that because I lived it. But when you walk with God, you literally see the difference. You live the difference, and you see the fruit. The fruit of the Spirit, but the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. Against such things there is no law. And there's something that got pointed out to me maybe like 2 years ago, where in scripture it does say that, but the fruit, so that's singular, right? So it's one fruit. All of this is one. It's not like, oh yeah, I have the fruit of the Spirit, I have the spirit of love, or I have the spirit of joy, or I have the spirit of self-control. No, it's literally all in one. Like you need to have all of it, not just having one. It's all one combined. So it's like, do you have the fruit of the Spirit, or do you not have this fruit of the Spirit? And it's just so much to get deep into, but just keep going with my testimony. This was just the things that were going on in my brain as I was walking closer with God throughout the years, right? So, you know, it's 2021, now we're in 2025, right? So within these years, I was just reading my word more and getting closer to God. I started going to church. I found a church that my friend told me about, and me and my sister ended up going. And then that same day, me and my sister were literally bawling, crying. Like I literally felt the Spirit there, like so strong, that I was like, okay, we're gonna keep coming here and see what comes of it. And then that same year in April, I believe, me and my sister and some other of my friends actually that also came to Christ around that time, we all got baptized, and that was so beautiful. It's such a symbolic thing. And that in itself was also like, oh, like you gotta get baptized, like all these religious activities and etc., right? Like so many questions can come into your brain, you know, but it's not doing it just because you have to do it. But when you have a relationship with God and you talk with him, he gives you literal confirmation over and over again, you know. So it's like amazing what he can do when you just allow him in your heart. And that's what I was doing. I was just allowing God in my heart, and he was walking with me. He was talking to me. And like going back to like with angel, when I was doing angel numbers as well, and all of these things, when I was asking for guidance to these things, or when I was asking for guidance from when I was lighting a candle to an archangel and etc., these things would not answer me for real. They were not giving me much to work with. They were being very vague with me. Like just saying like basic things that any human can, you know, go through. But God, when you open your heart to him, he is so personal and he is so funny. Like my God is funny. Like he will give me like little things. Like I can't even remember the specifics. I could just remember that it happened right now. But he would be so funny when he would like share little things with me. Like let's say I would be driving and I see something, or I hear two people talking and they're literally speaking about something that was in my head at the time, or I read something that I had a question about, and like I read it right there and then I start laughing because it's just like, oh, okay, God, like I know that's you. He's like, yep, that's me. So it's just funny how he's so personal with each and every one of us, and he talks to us in such a personal level that you just know it's him. Like there's no denying. But it's also amazing that even though we're all this, you know, we're all humans, we all experience God in, you know, different ways that he decides to speak to us, because, you know, like the little quirks, the little things I have within me, that's what he's gonna use to like, you know, show me things. And the same with you, the little quirks and things that you have in you, he's gonna show you through that as well. So it was just getting more and more amazing walking with him, that I was just this is truth. Like my mind was convinced like this is real, this is truth, this is God, and no one can tell me otherwise. But when it came to New Age, it was always like mixy matchy, like, oh yeah, I could do this, I could do a little bit of this, I could do a little bit of this, and everything's gonna be fine. But I was just getting even more confused going deeper in these things. So it's like, okay, it says in the word, you know, like God is not the author of confusion, the enemy is. So when I was reading the Bible, like that verse that I just said, those were things that were popping up in my head, reminding me of what I was living in New Age. And he was like, you remember when you was getting more confused? Well, yeah, I'm not the author of that. And I'm like, oh, okay, God, I see you. I see what you're doing. So yeah, it was just like those things that were just going on throughout the years of him talking to me and walking with me and him giving me confirmation of things. And not all of it was fun, you know, and some of it really did hurt, you know, because it's like, it says like, you know, when, you know, pick up your cross and follow me. And that's really hard to do. Sometimes I don't want to pick up my cross. And because of that, there was a moment in my life where maybe, I don't even know how long ago, a couple years into following God, there's this thing that they say, you're on fire for God, right? So I was on fire for God, and I just wanted to talk about him with everybody I saw. Like I just wanted everybody to experience the peace and the love and the clearness and the like that structure that I feel everyone needs to have. So I was literally trying my best to share with everyone. And then I quickly learned that maybe the way that I was doing it wasn't the best way. I was just so excited to share. And also that everyone can receive it differently, you know? So I was getting a little bit discouraged as well. Even like speaking about him or sharing. So I got really quiet at one point and I didn't want to share anymore, and I just wanted to keep God for myself, and just whoever wants to come to God, like, they'll figure it out. But then, you know, that was me again, letting my pride get in the way because things weren't going my way, you know. And then sometimes at that time, like, I really just stopped reading my Bible as much. I just went back to like living my life. I tried to smoke again, and then I very quickly, I'm like, oh yeah, I can physically, mentally, spiritually feel and see the difference when I am walking with God and when I'm not walking with God. And I prefer walking with God because it's just, you just feel how much better it is. Even if you're in pain or whatever, even whatever you're dealing with, while you're walking with God, it's still much better. So that alone is why I'm even doing this or even speaking about this, because that's how much I believe in my God, you know? Then came when me and my partner were kind of in conflict because I was no longer living the way that we were both living at that time, like the smoking and all of the things. And we were a little bit bumping heads at one point that I'm just like, okay, maybe we shouldn't be together anymore. So I kind of stepped away for a little bit, and I was literally just asking God, if like any woman probably would ask this, if he's not the man for me, like, you know, like, help me just, you know, take him away, basically. And of course, who wants that? Like, you've been in a relationship for a while and you don't want to deal with those things. But yeah, I literally got confirmation that no, like, he really is your person. And the funny thing is that before walking with God, like, I went to this lady because my relationship wasn't very good at the time. And one of them was telling me, like, yeah, he's not the one for you. You're going to meet another person. And then I'm like, okay. So then that kind of stood out in the back of my mind. But then God himself confirmed that he really is the one for me. So it's just funny also how the enemy kind of will just tell you whatever he wants to tell you. And it's the complete opposite of what God is calling you to. But yeah, he gave me confirmation that he is. So, you know, we started talking again and getting closer again. And during this season, I ended up getting pregnant with my daughter, which in that season, I was feeling very shameful of myself, given that, like, you know, in the word you read, like, oh, like, you have to be married and stuff like that. So we weren't married, but we were living in sin for a whole relationship anyways. So I was still learning and unlearning all of these things. But God is not of God to kind of like make you feel bad for the things that you do. He just wants to walk with you through it, and he just wants to redeem everything, and of course walk with you in a way that is better structured so you won't get hurt, right? So I'm gonna try my best to like explain this because this is really personal for me, and I'm still walking through this healing right now. So yes, a couple years in following the Lord, I got pregnant with my daughter, and I was filled with shame, and I was trying to relearn how to navigate this and still navigate walking with God at the same time. And I was just questioning myself and questioning why God, like, I didn't even want to be seen, because at that point, like, I felt like I was getting, like, looked at, like, getting judged, right? Like, I felt like I was being judged, because it's like, once you become a Christian or whatever, or a follower of God, not even, like, that's another whole thing, like denomination, like, oh, you're a Christian, this and this and that. So, or you're a Catholic, or you're all the other denominations. But like for me, like, the denominations thing, like, is kind of a blur for me, because Christ is Christ. Like, I just read the word. I don't know. Like, I don't care for all the different denominations. There's only one God. So that means that there's only one thing for all of us, and God talks to all of us. So I don't know. That's just how I've been seeing it. But in this season, I felt very ashamed. I felt very like, I did something wrong, and I thought God was going to punish me for it. And, all of the things, because that's what religion starts to creep in your body, that it's like, oh, if you're not doing this correctly, you're going to hell, or you're not good enough, or look at you said you was following God, but you went over there and you were sinning, or look at you had sex outside of marriage, and look, now you have a daughter, and all of these things. So my brain at that time was just right. But the beautiful thing about God is that He doesn't condemn you the way that the world and people and the enemy does. He is so caring, and He is so loving, that He wants to use everything for our good. Like, it literally says that in scripture. So He started to remold me again in that season, because I just didn't know anymore. I didn't even want to read my word or anything, because I just felt like I'm not worthy anymore. Like, I was, in New Age not too long ago, and then I gave you my all, and I thought that I was doing good, and then I went on and I sinned against you, and that's not what He wanted me to take from the situation. But He was trying to redeem something in the situation, right? So I'm just going to give you a little bit of like my testimony piece of me and my partner, because that's like the big chunk of like from coming to Christ to now. So I got pregnant with my daughter in 2023. Remember, I came to Christ 2021, and in 2022, that's when I was the most, between 2021 and 2022, I was the most on fire for God. And then 2023, me and my partner were having like, issues, but then God confirmed that He was the man for me, and we started, talking again, and got carried away. And we had our daughter, and then we got together again, and God was just trying to take me through this season of my life, of feeling all the feelings, and then on top of that, being pregnant. So you can only imagine like that in itself. And you would consider at the time, to be considered a baby Christian. But I feel like there's no ending when you walk with God. Like, you're just walking with God. Like it's a continuous thing. This is like a continuous renewal thing. They're relearning and unlearning, and every season is different. So it's like, yeah, it's just part of it as I'm learning. Camera overheated. So I got pregnant with my daughter, and then it was kind of really hard for me to, believe and trust God. But he literally took me through, and he was with me every step of the way. And the way that even my daughter was born was all him. I would have to give another episode for my birth story alone. But yeah, so yeah, I got pregnant with my daughter, and then I would go to church here and there, but it was really hard because I was pregnant, and also full of like shame because I didn't want anybody to see that I was pregnant, and clearly I was, out of wedlock and all of these things. And I definitely felt a pressure to get married, and at that time I also was like very upset because I did things the wrong way, right? And I was mad at myself, and I was mad at my partner, and I was just mad, aside from the hormones. But yeah, I was just going through the motions in that season. I was very just in my head. I didn't even want like a baby shower or anything of that sort. But I had people around me that really cared for me, and even the way that I found out that I was having a daughter was crazy too. Like God was already showing me that it was gonna be her, and yeah, it was such a season that I really learned a lot in that season. Like I learned how to fully just surrender to God the things of my life, the mistakes that I make and everything, because I thought I had to be this perfect human. But no, like we fall, humans fall all the time, and he gives us so much grace. So that season of my life was full of grace over me. And yeah, then my daughter came, and she was just the most amazing little thing I have ever seen. And me and my partner were getting better as a couple, and we were going to church, and God would speak to him, and God would speak to me. And yeah, then after that we ended up getting married for real. And even like the dates of all of this just shows how God redeems everything. Because prior to me coming to Christ, I did have an abortion in 2018 in May, right? And later down the line in 2013, I got pregnant with my daughter in May. And then come now 2025, me and my husband got married in May. So it's like crazy how he literally showed me these things, like, hey, like, you guys were in this situation when you were in New Age, and then you had, then you got pregnant with your daughter here as well, and you were following me, and then now you're married on this month as well, and you're still with me, and you're growing with me. So God literally redeems everything, and he does it in a way that you can see that it was him. Because how am I gonna plan myself that what happened in May 2018, and then May 2013, and then May 2025. Like, how was I going to plan this? You know, like, that's could only be God. And the fact that he kind of brought all of that in remembrance, to me, it was crazy. But yeah, I wanted to get married in January because me and my partner would make 7 years together in January. And I was like, oh, why didn't it happen then? But then God was like, even though you guys were together for 7 years in January, I'm trying to redeem something that happened in May years ago. And then what happened again in May with your daughter. That's what I'm redeeming in your relationship. So just the fact that me and my partner got married in May, after all of those things happened in May as well, and probably other things that I can't remember right now probably happened during that time because we've been together for 7 years. But it's just beautiful how he works. Like, you remember earlier when I was telling you, like, God is funny? To me, that's funny, how he orchestrated this in my life. So, yeah, once we got married, things just felt better, and we just been walking with God ever since. And God has given me such a peace in my mind about where he has me. And some days clearly not as easy as others. There's still days that I could get angry or upset, or I'm dealing with something, but at the end I always come back to him because he's the way, the truth, and the life. And I believe that wholeheartedly, because if I, like that girl that I was when I first started trying to find who I was and who I am back in 2015, when I was completely lost in the sauce, to now, like, I'm like, oh my God, like, I would never believe that this is the woman that I was going to become. And there's so much stuff that I'm still trying to work with God out, that I need help with, but I am no longer ashamed of what he took me out of and what I've been through, because it's not the sin that you make, it's what he's trying to redeem through that sin, which is so beautiful, because he's not condemning you, he just wants better for you. And I'm just really grateful. And I also, like, through all of this, I believe that no matter what happens, when you have a foundation in God, nothing can break that foundation. Nothing can bring you down. Nothing can take me back to that person that I was back then. Like, the more that I walk with God, the stronger I just get. The more that I walk with God, the more resilient I am. And I still need a lot of work. I'm not perfect, but I'm not that naive anymore to just let my emotions and my thoughts fully take over. I'm able to now allow my heart to be used by God and molded by God to help me be the woman that he's calling me to be, for myself, for my husband, for my daughter, for my family. And I'm trying, but I'm surrendering, and I'm not striving anymore, because when I was pregnant, or right before I was pregnant as well, I felt like I was striving to be this holy woman. But quickly when I got pregnant with my daughter, I got so humbled, where it's like, you thought you were holy, huh? So, yeah, I'm also glad that the time that I was pregnant, I had really, really good really good friends in my life and my family that, loved me and cared for me and steered me back to the word and all of the things, and having a church that like every time I would go to church, God was literally speaking directly to me. And but yeah, in this season of the beginning of walking with God and up to now, it was a lot of, like I said, relearning and unlearning for me, and making it make sense to what I was living and not what other people were living on their walks with God, because that can happen. You can think like, oh, well, that person is doing this and they're following God, why can't I do it? But it's like God speaks to your heart, because it's what's in your heart that needs to be worked on, not on what's on another person's heart that God is working on. Like for me, like the whole, like the way I used to dress, the way I used to talk, it was something that God was working in me, because I was very, like the people would say, free spirited, where it's like you would just see skin everywhere, but I don't know. And I started to feel convicted about the way I was dressing, and wanting to dress more modest, not just for God, but for myself. And it just was time already. And like it wasn't giving me anything in return, dressing to that extent that I used to. Those who know. But yeah, that was one of the things God was working in me in that season. And then another thing was my language, and like a lot of cursing. And I know in my last episode, I think I spoke on how I used to curse so much, and it just doesn't sit well anymore in me. Like, has it come out here and there randomly? Yeah, it has, but it feels wrong when I do it. Like, it doesn't feel good when it had come out in those instances, which is how I know that God is really in me and He's really working in my heart. And another thing is like, the humans see the outward appearance, but God sees what's in your heart. So, like, I can be dressed modest or whatever, but I have so much anger in my heart, and that's the main thing that God, like, wants to work in you. And I feel like that's what I didn't know was going on when I was looking at other people on their walks, was that I was looking at them from the outside, and I wasn't realizing, the work that needs to be done on the inside. Like, you can show up this front of, this godly woman, as I thought I was, prior to me. Like I said, before I got pregnant, I thought I was walking in this holy walk, and then boom, I got pregnant, and I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not so holy, And God was working in my heart with a lot of things during that season, from anger to dealing with old wounds from being younger, and dealing with like trust issues, and so many things that He was trying to let me understand on a deeper level that I didn't know was there. And I also, at that time, I had this family member that that person used to come to me for yoga and card readings, and I used to give it to that person, because they were seeking something more themselves. Mind you, they would share the Lord with me, and I would just look at them like, okay. But in my head, I'm like, well, you're the one coming to me. How good, good can your God be? Like, you're coming to me. So at that time, that's how I viewed it, until I came to the Lord. And I'm like, what was that about, God? Like, that person came to you, that person was walking with you, or was coming to you, but they were trying to come to me, and and get answers for me as well, and for me to help them as well with what they were dealing with mentally and physically. So I was very brought back, but I feel like now that I look back, it's like, us humans, we just want answers no matter where we can get them from, but that's not how God works. So I feel like a lot of the things that we do, it just seems like mixy matchy sometimes, but God is the God of his word. So it's like the answers that you want from God aren't the ones sometimes that you need. So the answers that he was seeking weren't the ones God was giving that person at that time. So he was seeking elsewhere to get, something else, a way around it. But God doesn't work a way around it. He wants you to go through it. So that's those little snippet of things that just happen in my walk that kind of like, okay, I pinpointed that, like, okay. And the whole religion thing also kind of like was kind of tricky because like I said in my other episode, how I grew up Catholic technically, but I didn't really understand it, which is just another way of following the Lord, which is the same thing. Like, it's still kind of like, I'm still trying to make it make sense, because it's like, why are we all acting so like God isn't God? Like, we all believe in the Lord. So I don't know, but it's just a lot of little things, like I guess tradition based on like the new, it's just a lot. But I don't really want to touch too much base on that, because I myself haven't done enough research on how that works. I'm just walking with the Lord and day by day, and letting him lead me on what he wants me to say or share, and my own experience. But yeah, and I also had like this moment of when people would say, oh, the Bible isn't real or is man-made. There's so many translations and whatnot. And that really tipped me off in the beginning, because I'm like, okay, well, I need to go get this one, the Hebrew one, because it's like, it hasn't been like messed up or whatever, how they would say. So it was a really like, okay. And then at one point I'm like, God, I don't even want to read your word anymore, because it's all been altered, right? But soonly after, I realized how it's not really the translation. It's also good just to study it all as you go, but it's just, he just wants you to come to him. Any little piece you get, he will use that. So whatever translation you have, whatever Bible you have, whatever piece of information you have of the Lord, he wants you to open your heart to it so he can make sense of it himself. Not, the fact that it's this translation or that translation. And just be open to learn and to open to understand. And then another thing that I just realized, that I'm letting this episode out. This episode will be out on Friday, October 3rd. And that's when me and my husband make 6 months getting married. So that's funny too, how that happened. And it's just beautiful to see what he's doing in our marriage now, and in our family, and how we don't want to, like, we want our foundation to be on a steady foundation on the Lord, because right now there's so much foundations that are not on the Lord, and it gets tricky being in a relationship. Even like being in marriage, like nowadays, like I used to say like, oh, I don't care about being married, like it's just a piece of paper. But when you walk with the Lord, is you get a different vision of what it really stands for. It's like, when you buy a car, you get the title of the car. When you rent an apartment or you buy a house, you get the the lease or the contract, etc. So it's just the formality of things. That's the structure. So it's like people don't have or want structure anymore. And God brings you back to that structure. That's what I want to say. When you literally just be honest and come to him with all of your things, he will give you structure in all areas of your life. And he will give you grace, he will give you peace, he will give you love, he will give you compassion, and he will discipline you. But we need to be disciplined, because if not, we're just going to be lollygagging. But yeah, it's just a beautiful thing, looking back from the girl of 2021 to the girl of 2025, of how God has brought me through. And I'm just still praying to see, what else he does in my life, and who else I meet that will show me something that I can learn from. But also in the season, in that process, right before I got pregnant, I think, I went to this conference where this lady, she had cancer a couple times, and she came by me, and I was just, like in prayer, and she came over and she told me something like struck my heart. She said, "You're not crazy. You can hear him clearly. Like, you know what he's saying. It's not in your head. Like, he's talking to you." And I needed that confirmation, because I thought that it was I thought it was just me, like, no, that's not God, that's not God, that's not God. But it was him. And when she told me that, like, I just got goosebumps all over my body. And that's when I realized that I was in fear, because, like I said earlier, when I would share the word with people or share God with people, I would get shut down. So I said, I'm not doing this anymore. I don't want to share anymore. I don't want to talk anymore. And because of that, I didn't. And when I went to this conference, she was trying to confirm to me that, no, like, those thoughts that you have, that's not from God. The thoughts that you're having about sharing and speaking and doing this podcast, because that's that time that I wanted to do it, but I didn't do it because I was in fear. And she gave me that confirmation when she told me that you hear him clearly, like, you're not crazy, it's not in your head. So yeah, wow, that's crazy. Like, that's when it kind of hit me. But look how long it took me from then. That was in 2022 that I had that confirmation. And look, it's 2025. This is now when I was able to do it, so it's like, it's crazy to me, but we made it. And I'm just so happy that I'm here now and sharing. And as I share myself, I'm like, God is exposing my own heart, and he's showing me my own things and my own process with him. And everything you do is for the glory of God. So it's like, it all works out. And I just feel like right now in this season, he has been giving me so much grace and so much blessing and so many answered prayers that I'm just happy and thankful and grateful. And I want to share that with everyone else, that whatever season you're in, each season matters. Each season comes with its own things. But as long as you stay grounded in him, it will be okay. Just want you to trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways, acknowledge him, and he will make straight your path. That's Proverbs 3. And I know that by heart, because that's one of the first scriptures that God put in my heart when I first started to walk with him, and when I was pregnant with my daughter as well. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your path. And that's what I've been doing throughout the years, and not leaning on my own understanding, and just being grateful and thankful for the good, the bad, the ugly, for the ups and the downs, of what it comes with being a human that has pride and selfishness and anger and bitterness and pain and hurt, from this world, that then comes to God, and he redeems, uses all things for the glory of God. Thank you for listening and watching, and yeah, till next time, God bless you.